I'm Troy Thompson. Over the last 15 years, our family has worked hard to create a place we call the center of the universe. A place where our kids and someday our grandkids can come home to and laugh, have fun, learn how to work, pray, worship God, and be a place to celebrate life with all our friends. After a quarter century in uniform, I put away one set of boots for another, working on our acreage, improving the land, fixing some structures, and building new ones. We say, give back to the community, be useful, keep your hands calloused, and spread the gospel. This is a little place in a little state right in the middle of flyover country, from which cries out a voice in the wilderness to all who might want to listen, learn, and laugh along with us. This is our American dream. Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to Sunnyside. Well, it's the day after the Super Bowl 59. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of years playing the Super Bowl, and I've seen, well, probably all but 9 or 10 of them, I guess, based on my new age in the last month or so, a couple of months, I guess. So, yeah, I watched the Super Bowl, probably like you did, at least in part, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and a few other things. Just kind of a hodgepodge of I guess, observations from the seat here in the studio at Sunnyside Farm Studios, and we'll try to find the sunny side of life. It's all good. I did not have I really did not have a dog in this fight at all. See, I'm a Vikings fan, so if the Vikings were at the Super Bowl, I probably would be too. But they weren't, and so like so many other fans of other football teams that weren't in the Super Bowl, we all, like we do, watch the final game of the NFL season until they return in August or the end of July, depending on where they're playing, maybe in Europe or whatnot. But I love football, and I do like to watch it, and I did. I watched the game, and of course the Eagles won big time over the Chiefs. Big time. Like, I couldn't believe how poorly the Chiefs performed in that game, just dashing the hopes of a three-peat, which had never been done before and now still remains a goal. And it's going to be a while before that's even possible again, because we have a new Super Bowl champion in the Philadelphia Eagles. And so congratulations to the Eagles. They just played an excellent game, and that was evident on both sides of the ball. Just an amazing execution on offense and on defense. And man, did they they struck first, and they just kept on hammering away and stopping the Chiefs just about at every turn. The Chiefs did eventually get on the scoreboard late in the second half and ended up coming up with about 20 points. So, but it didn't matter. Half of the number of the Eagles. And even though I'm not necessarily an Eagles fan, I appreciate that the NFC did win and have taken that title away as Super Bowl champions from the AFC. Not a big Eagles fan. I guess that's how it should be. They have a tendency to be pretty rough and rude, and from the city of brotherly love, that seems to be an odd combination. But the team just performed really well, and you got to respect that type of football. It was in that regard quite an awesome game, and I've got some observations about that. But first, a couple things about the game. I guess I thought the lead up to the game is just almost as big as the game, it seems like. And I didn't watch a lot of the pregame stuff. I didn't come into the house from the shop until about 5 o'clock, and that was just to kind of get the chicken wings ready. Made some chicken wings and some other things for the family, but no Super Bowl party for the Thompsons. We didn't get into that this year. You know, the thing with the Super Bowl party is that when you get to be a certain age, I think you kind of just you want to just watch the game and hear the commercials and grab a beer or a beverage and eat your food and enjoy it without having to worry about, coming home, or if you're hosting it, sending everybody home after the game is over. And so it was just nice to be done about 9 o'clock here Central Time, and the kitchen was clean, and we had our Super Bowl snacks, and it was all very good. But no party for the Thompsons at the sunny side. However, we did watch the game, like I said, and did catch some of the pregame stuff. The game didn't start till almost 6 o'clock. So, I think that there is there's a lot of. I mean, it's good that we recognize recent tragedies in the nation. Certainly, everybody maybe if not everybody, a whole lot of people in the United States of America, including the President of the United States, are watching the Super Bowl. And so it's important, I guess, particularly the people that are devastated by whether it's the fires in Los Angeles, situations in North Carolina a few months ago, or dealing with the recent incidents in college football in New Orleans, on Bourbon Street, and on and on and on. And so it's good to recognize those situations. It does get a little heavy-handed, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm not empathetic, because I am. I care about those situations as much as anybody does. Sometimes I just want to watch a football game, and that doesn't mean that I don't care. It just seems like it gets a little bit much. And so that may seem harsh. I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe you're thinking I'm crazy, but I'm not saying that those things are out of place. I thought Lady Gaga did a great job. She had an enormous hat. I mean, this is a huge hat. I hope hats like that come back. I mean, it's just, can you imagine? Just people wearing gigantic hats like that. And so, and a very long train, and a very nice song, and of course, so it's a very that was a nice tribute. It was cool how they did that with Tom Brady and everybody walking down Bourbon Street, and Terry Bradshaw, Terry Bradshaw's walking as well, and you can tell. I don't know if you go back and look at it, but to me, I was kind of giggling because Terry Bradshaw is like 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot. What am I doing? 1 foot in front of the other, and everybody's trying to walk together, but not look like they're walking together in a way that looks like somebody's marching them down Bourbon Street. So it's just a lot of logistics and direction. It's the show. It's a show. I mean, the Super Bowl is the big show for sure. And it was good. That was good. But I don't know, that and just all these tributes, and it gets to be a lot. I suppose that's where you have to do it, though, and I'm certain that the families and the victims of all of those tragic situations appreciate the recognition, and so that's deserved. And I don't want to knock on it too much, but I'm just sitting there in my living room going, this is a little much, but it's good. It's all good. I guess I'm not sure where I'm. That's just how I felt, and maybe you see it differently. But anyway, I did notice that there were a lot of commercials for NASCAR and Formula One. I'd say how successful it was because I don't watch NASCAR. I did turn to my wife Heidi, and I was like, maybe it would be fun to go to a NASCAR event sometime, but I can't really ever imagine watching it on TV. We're just not a NASCAR family, and I know that that's a huge sport, and people like it, obviously, and so it's a big deal. They were really pushing that on Fox Sports, and so Formula One, it's usually a foreign guy. It was this time. I think he's from Spain or something like that. I can't remember his name, so that wasn't real successful. Probably wouldn't watch Formula One racing either. I know there's been movies about Formula One in the last few years, and didn't watch those either because I just don't care. I don't know. I'm not a gearhead, so it doesn't really matter to me at all. But there seemed to be a lot of heavy-handed advertising for you should watch NASCAR and you should watch Formula One. Two separate things, but apparently the next big thing. So they don't want to lose all of the people watching the Super Bowl down the road. So they want to be able to, I suppose, promote what they've got coming up. So I guess that makes sense. But speaking of commercials, yeah, I've got some different categories. I've got a category. There's a lot of commercials. I like watching the commercials for the Super Bowl. You probably do too. Lots of people talking about the commercials. I'm irritated that if you want to go to, like, say, YouTube and just see what the commercials are, you can't just watch the commercials unless you specifically type in that specific commercial that you know that you're looking for. Instead, you just usually get like a set of commercials that somebody else has curated for you, and then you got to kind of skip through them to see the one that you want to see, just to even to prepare for this podcast. And it seems like that's a thing with YouTube. Like, you can't just watch something straight anymore. You have to have somebody else's commentary, which I realize that as a podcaster, that's what I do, is I'm commenting on different things. And so maybe you have to skip through this as well. But I made there's a lot of commercials on. I enjoy the commercials. They've done a good job, I think, this year, coming back to some just kind of grandiose, funny commercials. I don't know if any of them were riotously funny, but I do have some different categories. I've got, starting with creepy commercials. Look, I don't know. I've got 3 in the category of creepy commercials. Just in my opinion, I think that they're creepy, and I don't know. I don't even know. No, I have 4. And and I can't even describe them to you specifically, except for these. Mountain Dew with Seal. It was funny, and I appreciated it. This anamorphic trend right now, because we have AI or digital abilities in film and commercials, we can take the singer Seal, that's his name, and turn him into a seal with Seal's face on it, and then he can sing. That song is stuck in my head, by the way. So that's effective. And it was for Mountain Dew, apparently. And so it was kind of funny, but it's not in my funny category. It was just kind of weird. I think it's just kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I like that. But that's the least of my concerns. Like the Mountain Dew with Seal is getting a lot of attention, and people liked it. And it is interesting, but I think it's just kind of creepy how they do that. And so the same thing started off even before the Super Bowl started. I didn't even know what shoes she was selling. I can't remember. This is the problem with a lot of Super Bowl commercials. I can't remember what it is exactly that they were selling. So I don't know if that's effective. But Martha Stewart was selling some kind of shoe that you can slip into, and she starts doing this like dance that is clearly AI. That's she, and it's creepy. That is in the creepy. I saw that and I was just like, I like Martha Stewart. She's got a documentary out. I think it's a good documentary. I appreciate Martha Stewart. I think Martha Stewart was a huge influence on Heidi's life, with how she, plans parties and prepares things and cooks and all those things, for sure. But I just thought that was weird. That is unnatural. And so it's kind of, that falls into my creepy category. I don't know what shoes she was selling, but she was kind of like dancing around, and it was very, very unnatural. And so I didn't like that. That goes in my creepy category, whatever shoes she was selling, even though we like Martha Stewart. But then I also found and this is going to probably throw some people off, but look, Sleepless in Seattle was a good movie. That's not even the one I'm talking about. When Harry Met Sally, that's what it is. When Harry Met Sally. So that's got Meg Ryan, Billy Crystal, and they had that famous scene in the deli shop, which they returned to, and they made this Hellman's commercial. And it's just, it's something like, I get it. It's a throwback. Both of them look much, because they are much older. And I don't think it would, I thought it was creepy. It's just kind of it's just awkward things. I'm going to sit next to, can you imagine sitting next to grandma, and watching that. Watching the movie was one thing where it seemed to be in perspective. This is a throwback, and it's kind of an inside joke. Probably young kids are like, I don't know what this is even all about. And I guess she really likes Hellman's. So funny in that regard. They did tie it all together. It's just a weird way to sell mayonnaise. And so I thought that was kind of creepy. It's in my creepy category. But the creepiest one of all, and I don't even know what they were selling again, but it's the dude with the skinhead cowboy hat and that whole vibe with, in the womb, he's got a little cowboy hat. And I thought, oh, he's going to come out with an actual cowboy hat. No, now that would happen anyway. But he's got like this whole life as a child with this, like this skull. It's shaped like a cowboy hat, and it's got skin over it. And it's just, and then the other people that are characters in the commercial have, apparently they're like Harry Potter or fantasy type people, and they have like a skull that's shaped like a wizard's hat. And it's just, it's a gross. It's just creepy. Like that creeps me out. It sticks in my mind. So on the advertising side, that's good. I can describe it fairly well. I have no idea what they were selling. I just can't get over that weird, fleshy, hairless, bald cowboy hat-shaped skull. So it's in that category of creepy, in my opinion. That's the creepiest of all. It really sticks out in that regard, but not enough that I could remember what it was that they were even selling. So fail on that regard. But then I did see there were some good commercials. I thought that they were good, and usually they're funny. I like funny commercials. I don't like anything to be too heavy-handed, although there is one in here that I'll put that I thought was, it was good, and I liked it, even though, regardless. But so first of all, I'm glad that Budweiser brought back the Clydesdales, and so that cute little, the younger pony type Clydesdale that sees a keg fall off the wagon, because that's how Anheuser-Busch still delivers their kegs, is with a big keg wagon pulled by Clydesdales. And I like the Clydesdales. I think America likes the Clydesdales. Anheuser-Busch realizes, and their parent company and whoever their new marketing team has kind of figured out that we like the Clydesdales. And so that was a good commercial. I thought that was cute. I thought it was good, and that's good. So Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch is getting back on track, despite their DEI woke parent company out of Europe, and so that was good. And that brings up the Bud Light commercial that featured Shane Gillis and Post Malone and Peyton Manning and others, and that was a very good commercial. I thought that was very funny and enjoyable. Just two dudes, Shane Gillis and Post Malone, sitting in their yard, and then somebody wants to have a cul-de-sac party, and so they go through all these antics to invite everyone in the neighborhood, and it turns into this riotous event, and they're shooting beer cans out of leaf blowers, and it's just awesome. They have the lawnmower that they pull this ridiculously long cooler full of Bud Light in. The lawnmower itself can be used as a grill, and the grill is apparently a lawnmower, and on and on and on. So it was very funny. Shane Gillis does a good job bringing that brand of Bud Light back into the public sphere that the terrible marketing team about a year ago really blew. And so good for them. I'd like to. Anheuser-Busch was an American company. It is owned by a European conglomerate now, but it was a very it's a stalwart part of who we are, and so I think that they're figuring that out. And that was good to see them return to their humorous commercials and really tying into the things that the previous marketing team really didn't like. She didn't like the frat boy type mentality, and it's like, well, that's pretty much what Bud Light is, and they did a good job. So that was a very good commercial as well. I'm sure you've seen it. Dash Pass. Now, my favorite comedian is Nate Bargatze, and we've followed him for many years, and I've seen him and met him. I think he's great. I listen to his podcast. If you don't check out Nateland Podcast, by all means, go do that. He and his comedic buddies sit around and talk about random things. Eventually, they get to the topic, or they don't. It's just that's his style, and I like what he's trying to do in comedy and in entertainment. He's a clean comedian, never says anything that you couldn't say in front of your kids or your parents or your grandparents. And so Nate Bargatze's been our family favorite for many years. And so he is getting pretty big now, which I think is great. It's good to see a clean comedian be that successful. And he did a commercial for Dash Pass, which is hilarious, and it's very funny. He plays off of his comedic role even in his sets, as he makes fun of how dumb he is, and the stories and his delivery and his rationale. And of course, it's very witty, and you just can't help but laugh. That ties perfectly into how this commercial was done, where he thinks he's saving money with Dash Pass, and so he's spending all this other money on all these other ridiculous things, and gets out of hand. So very, very funny. Dash Pass with Nate Bargatze. I like that. That's in my good commercial category. Also, I thought Glenn Powell did a great job with the Ram Goldilocks story. So selling Ram trucks, that was over the top. Ram has had some very good commercials in the last few years. I'll never forget the Vikings crossing the Atlantic and coming to America, and just this epic seafaring thing, and then getting there and then driving in these Ram trucks and going to win the Super Bowl was held in Minneapolis, and they're Vikings and they're driving to Minneapolis, and of course the Vikings didn't again make the Super Bowl, and so they get to just outside of city limits, and they realize they're not in it, so they turn around and drive away. But it's just a cool commercial. That one I thought was hilarious. As a Vikings fan, I thought that was hilarious. And so Ram did a very good job with Glenn Powell, who starred in Twisters last year, and I at first I had to look up his name, to be honest with you. I don't follow actors and actresses that closely to be able to just see all of them and go to know exactly who they are. My Us Weekly subscription expired a million years ago. But Glenn Powell is very funny in that, and he's telling the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears to his kids. And he changes it to be about himself and getting a Ram truck and these 3 Ram trucks and driving and doing all these amazing things. Very awesome sketch. And it's funny when the kids call him back, and then it's about the 3 Bears. And so then the Bears, all of a sudden the Bears are in it too. And their reactions to when the Bears start driving trucks next to them, and the little baby bear in the back seat, and everybody. I thought that was very funny. So good job to Ram again. And of course, I've had a Dodge pickup truck. We called it Old Blue. This was many years ago. It was I think I bought it in like 2003, and probably sold it in, I don't know, 2013 or something like that. I had it for a long. It was a 1996 Dodge, and I used it for everything. And it ended up being one of those trucks where it had like 1 million miles on it, all kinds of dents and problems, and you kind of had to be careful not to lean against the passenger doors. It might fly open. It ended up just getting, I think, wrecked out after I think I got $500 for it when I traded it in. But I did enjoy that. I've had Ram trucks. I've had Chevy. I've had obviously now we're all Ford for the most part. I've got a Ford truck, and I like Ford. Done a commercial for the local Ford dealer here in Forest City, and it's. I just like I like Fords, but I'm not a Ford guy in the sense that I got one of those Ford emblems peeing on a Chevy emblem, and I'm not that kind of. I've had them all, and I think they're all great, and I love those American trucks. So, but right now, I've got we got a Ford, and I have a Ford truck, and Jack's got a Ford truck, and we have a Bronco, which comes into play here because I did think that the commercial that Jeep made with Harrison Ford was really good. And look, Harrison Ford's got way different politics than I do, but growing up, I mean, Indiana Jones, Han Solo, just witness Kelly McGillis. I mean, come on. I mean, all these things were, he's just iconic, and love Harrison Ford for his acting in all the movies that he's in. And this was a good commercial, and he was tied into Yellowstone. He's just done a lot of stuff. And so, I like it. And I thought it was a good commercial, and I thought it was funny that there was very nuanced. A Jeep has served as an inspiration, and it's like it's passing a Bronco like we have, and so it's on the road without saying Bronco. They're just kind of nodding at the people in the Bronco. I thought that was pretty good, and I love the way that it ended. Actually, he's like was like I love my Jeep. Now he's got the electric version, of course, like you do when you're an actor, but he is he says, I love this, I love my Jeep, you love your Jeep, whatever it happens to be, and even though my last name is Ford. And so it's a pretty good dig on Ford, and as a Ford owner, I appreciate that. And I've had a Jeep as well. I straight out of high school, I had an old Jeep Comanche, the pickup version, and it was red. I had my senior pictures taken with it, because I loved that truck. And so it was, I like Jeeps, and we've had the regular, the little, the Willie, or the Wranglers too, and so those have been fun. Tanner had one of those, on and on and on. So I like all those American car companies, and the trucks especially, and so I thought that was a good one. That falls into my good category of commercials. Then I've got this third category, and it's just one, and it's the why. Like, why are we doing this? And so then you have to do a little research, and it kind of falls back into what I was saying. It was like, look, I'm empathetic to these causes, and certainly recognizing the tragedies that have happened recently in the United States, and this is a big platform to be able to pay homage to the survivors and the victims and the families of those situations. But as I said, it gets a little much for a football game. I understand why they do it. The NFL is trying to position themselves, and it's worthy. I'm not saying it's not worthy. It's just, anyway, this why commercial for me is the one with Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady. It irritates me, because at the end, Snoop says, I hate that things are so bad, we have to do a commercial about it. And I don't feel that they are that bad. Do we have to keep telling ourselves that they're so bad? We have to keep convincing Americans in general, the public watching the Super Bowl, that things are still so bad. Things are so bad. When we're trying to, as a nation, I think, recover and heal, and of course, half the country probably doesn't. They probably do think it is so bad, but I don't. But I don't think that there's the evidence that merits that. Now, that was a commercial paid for by Robert Kraft, who's the owner of the New England Patriots. He's got a campaign against anti-Semitism, and so in his checkbook that was paying for this, I think it was well, they at least ran twice, but it was before and after, not during. So it'd be like $9 million probably that they spent for this 30-second ad with Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg. I saw it twice, so I don't know if it ran more than that, but I just felt like it was unnecessary. And I particularly did not appreciate I hate that things are so bad that we have to do a commercial about it. But they didn't address what it is specifically that is so bad. And they didn't really hone in on any particular type of hate. So it leaves it very open-ended. So I guess if, you hate, well, Snoop Dogg hates that things are so bad that he has to do a commercial about it. I'm sure he, got paid. But that to me is, that's just, I don't know. Well, Taylor Swift probably put it best, and she borrowed that lyric from a rapper actually, but it's a hater's going to hate. So shake it off, So I don't think that saying, and the NFL is slowly figuring this out. You might have noticed that the end zone commentary in the end zones from the NFL were not present in this Super Bowl, but they, and they didn't, they took the money for these ads, or at least the networks did. But I don't think that if people really are hateful, that the NFL or Robert Kraft, either Snoop Dogg or Tom Brady, are going to change their minds. I don't want to be pessimistic. I just think that if you're irrationally hateful, And I think that hate is a pretty irrational emotion, and yet they do point that out in this commercial. But it seems to me like if you're that irrational, like you're not going to win somebody over in an argument of irrationality with logic, and that is so problematic and unnecessary. And so it's kind of like a why. Why do we have to be lectured to in a football game? And then if it is from Robert Kraft's campaign against anti-Semitism, then indicate that, because that's a problem. Racism is still a problem. There are racist people. But again, I don't think that something on the back of your helmet or the end zone is going to change a racist's heart. They're not going to suddenly go, oh, well, I'm just going to completely change my worldview based on the NFL. They're an entertainment division, and they're still trying to figure what their place in the world is, and I can help them out with that. It's just present a good football game. That's it. That's what I want. I want, as a fan of football, that's what I want. But they just can't help themselves. And so I'm not for hate, so don't get me wrong. I just felt like it was unnecessary. I think it's too opaque in what it was that they were say. Hate is a word, and then they're letting people decide what that is, I guess, and maybe while they're eating their chicken wings and their nachos or whatever, they're thinking, you know what? After this game, I'm not going to hate anymore. Well, I hope that's the case. I hope it works out, because that's the sunny side of life right there. All right, so those are the commercials, and don't want to spend any more time talking about those commercials. I do want to talk about the game a little bit, not the X's and O's so much, but I do have to, since we're talking about hate, half the country is in politically, we seem to be still pretty divided, which is probably not going to change. And I think that it's interesting. I looked at the game, particularly the way that the Eagles just overwhelmingly destroyed the reigning champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, in there relentlessly, as I talked about at the beginning of the program here. And it reminded me of probably, I got to imagine that the way I feel about many of the notoriously rough and rude Eagles fans is probably how never Trumpers feel about anybody, any MAGA type person. And I would say that the outcome of this game last night is probably a pretty good parallel to the last couple weeks of executive orders, appointments, border and deportation actions, and the hourly, it seems, minute by minute news cycle run at a pace that is stupefying the press and Democrats and any anti-Trump person. It's a whirlwind. Talk about twisters. In the last couple of weeks, the flurry of actions and comments and just everything that's been going on in the Trump administration at a pace that is exhausting to the media that can't keep up. They don't know what to do with themselves. They have to continually change, the direction. It's brilliant. And it reminds me of this football game. It's like the reigning champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, who I was a fan of the Chiefs before I was a Vikings fan. So as a kid, I liked the Chiefs. That's when Joe Montana was there. It was just, I enjoyed the Kansas City Chiefs, and my son lives in Kansas City, and with obviously my daughter-in-law, they're down there, and his law firm is affiliated with the Chiefs in some regard, which is fantastic. So he's got a chance to meet some of the players, or a lot of them. And so big deal for Kansas City. It would have been cool if they had won to be a three-peat. That's a big deal. It's never been done before. So, but they just played so poorly. It was just regrettable. And I think that that to me, there's a little bit of a corollary there where for the last several years, we have had this reigning champion viewpoint from the progressive side of politics and business, just everywhere, that has suddenly just ran smack dab into a completely irreverent and we're not going to do it that way offense and defense, and just shut them down. They had no response to it whatsoever. They did score some, but it was such a lopsided game for so long that it really made you question, like, how did these guys get to be Super Bowl champs in the first place? That's not fair. But I think that that's the political corollary there, is just that they this football game it's like Trump and his administration and his election are like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Democrats and the anti-Trumpers, and that half of the country is just suddenly like, I don't even know what to do here, and it became very frustrating for them and obvious throughout the game. So that's my political take on the mostly non-political Super Bowl 59, and so take it or leave it. That's where it was. And look, I think that the Black National Anthem is a very pretty song, but I'm not. But what nation? What nation is that for? We have a national anthem in America, and I happen to like it, but apparently it's not good enough. It doesn't serve. That just is too. It's just too unifying. That's just if you have one song for one nation, how are you going to drive a wedge between people? And so I think it's a beautiful song. I think it was performed very well. But I don't know what nation it's the national anthem for. And that's really the grievous part of the argument for me, is I'm not sure what nation is being represented. I understand the people that it represents, but I'm not sure what nation. So I don't think it should be called a national anthem. And I don't like the wedge that it seems to drive between people of all colors and all races and all of that stuff. I don't like that. And it seems like very unnecessary and a little heavy-handed. So nice song, but and they don't put it in place of the national anthem. And it was nice to hear God Bless America, Christian singer who was not allowed to perform in New Orleans by their mayor or whatever a few years ago. And so victory for her to be able to come back and sing, and she did a great job. And it's just a lot of entertainment. So they can put in whatever songs they want to. I didn't watch the halftime show because it was on, but I was doing dishes, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't know any of these songs, and it looks like it's a good performance. But for me, this just wasn't my type of music. It doesn't mean that I don't have hip hop in my playlist. I certainly do. I didn't know the guy. Sorry, I'm not up to date with that. So that probably happens every year and has happened for 59 years, where there's some sort of, somebody, it's not my type of music, or that's not my type of entertainment. So we can have commentary about it all we want. That's my observations about the Super Bowl. I got a couple of other things, hodgepodge of stuff that I wanted to hit on today before I let you go and go out and have a great week. Do wonderful things. Look, there's a lot of talk right now about these. The Trump administration has offered to allow federal employees to quit. They can resign, and they'll get paid for I think 8 months or something like that. So they can take their salary and they can go find another job. And this was offered by the Trump administration, and apparently, last I heard, about 50,000 people in the federal government have taking them up on that. It's like, yep, okay, I'll take it. And they have been told by their union, or unions, I should say, that they don't do that. You don't have to do that, and they don't actually have the money to pay you, and on and on and on. And I was like, man, why would the unions, these public sector unions, try to stop 50,000 members from, leaving? And then again, the rule is generally just follow the money, which has been this whole in the last week or two anyway, the Doge situation of revealing how much incredible waste, fraud, and abuse. Although I'm not sure we've honed in on the fraud part of it, but it seems like there is a lot of abuse and a lot of waste for sure in the federal government. And so follow the money. And I looked into it a little bit, and I guess so. If you're a public sector union member, depending on a variety of things, what union you're a part of, what your salary is. They have different rates for different schedules, for different pay. But on average, the amount for union dues is about $18 to $23 per pay period to the unions. And so when I worked for the federal government, we were paid twice a month. And so that adds up to $36 or $46 per month. So if you extrapolate that over the course of a year, say 12 months or 26 pay periods, you get you get anywhere between $21.5 million to $27.5 million, in that range, that is in union dues for 50,000 people. That's just suddenly going to go away. So why in the world would the unions want to discredit this incredible action of allowing 50,000 people to just leave? And if they're leaving, well, who's going to pay their union dues? That's a big, let's just call it $25 million with these 50,000 people. $25 million, not in the union coffers. Who's going to elect Democrats? There's a lot of federal employees, so you can extrapolate that in multiples of 50,000 as much as you want, considering that there are some parts of the federal employee base that are not allowed to unionize, like the military, for example. But boy, there's a lot of federal employees out there that all are part of these public sector unions. And if you take 50,000 people take the deal, and that causes a loss of say $25 million to the unions, they're going to probably put up a fight. And that's really what it's all about. Nothing about the workers, certainly nothing about the work at all. It's all about they got to pay their bills too. And they have to collect their money from their members. And if they have fewer members, that's less money for them. That's my take on the real deal behind the public sector unions that are crying foul against the Trump administration right now. Having federal workers leave. And I think that's okay. It's okay. And not having $25 million, $21, $22 million to $28 million in public sector union coffers, I'm all right with that too. Hopefully even more. It'd be great, in my opinion. So speaking of Doge, and recently they've been talking about USAID, and there's all kinds of stuff on social media, and we'll get to one more thing about social media right after this. But I know you can go and look at expenditures, and I noticed something came up in my feed that was a spreadsheet, and it showed specifically it had been searched for Lutheran Services affiliations or Lutheran Services affiliations. So Lutheran Services do all kinds of things. They're involved with immigration placement and bringing in refugees and all of that stuff, and a variety of other things that the Lutheran Church does. And so in general, I'd say that those are probably pretty good things. But in just 1 month between the 7th of December and the 7th of January, so before the inauguration, just the Lutheran services received over $600 million from USAID. $600 million in a month. And maybe that was a pay for services that had been rendered or whatever. Or $600 million to Lutheran affiliated services. And I'm sure that it's like that for a variety of other large denominations, probably the Methodists as well. And I don't know if it's to the amount of $600 million in a month. I don't know if I'm sure that's not every month, but what if it is? Or if it's once a year, maybe it's twice a year. I don't know. It still seems like that's a lot of money for all of these things that they do. And they're in different cities and different, locations across the United States, and for different things, but they were all affiliated with the Lutheran Church. And my take on that is, and I'm sure it's the same thing with the Methodists and Episcopalians or Presbyterian, whomever, the large denominations that have a lot of service organizations affiliated with their mission as non-governmental agencies or organizations, NGOs, that on the face, I would say probably do a lot of good. But in exchange for that, my belief is that then those larger denominations have been essentially ruined by the 30 pieces of silver, so to speak, and have, made changes in their philosophies and what they preach from the pulpits. And you can see that whether it's in the ELCA or the United Methodist Church or other very large denominations and certainly the Episcopal bishop or whatever she was, that was at the National Cathedral with Trump and J.D. Vance. These organizations have abandoned the gospel in some ways or in many ways, or at least ignored certain passages that would, ever prevent them from running askew with the progressive agenda. And so I just feel like that's filthy and money changer like. And I think that Jesus would probably have some. Look, you should take care of refugees. You should take care of the needy. The poor will always be with us, Jesus said. And I think that it's good that in some ways the government recognizes that non-government organizations and organizations of faith can be and often are more successful in accomplishing the goals. Whatever it happens to be, whether it's prison or criminal reform or addiction treatment or whatever it happens to be, or refugees, or you name it. I think that those things are adoption services. Those things are handled better by organizations of faith. However, the government, when it has its money, those are evil tentacles that then tell you, this is how we're going to control you. And Trump does the same thing when he's saying, look, if you're a city and you're not going to, let people, you're not going to work with us when we're getting illegal immigrants out because you're a sanctuary city or a sanctuary county or sanctuary state, in your opinion, we're going to cut off federal funds to you. And those are being challenged because there's any federal money, any government money is tied to potentially, you have to follow my agenda. And so Trump does it. And certainly if he does it, that the progressives were doing it. And so to some degree, that's understood. We receive federal funds into the school district for certain things, through the Department of Ed, which may or may not exist, at the end of this, federally. So I get it. And there's always strings attached, because they want, some oversight. They want you to do it their way. If you want this money, you have to do it their way. It's like they're buying, your heart. Oh, so I guess Knox agrees with that statement, or maybe he disagrees. It's hard to tell. I don't have the definition of all of his little barks figured out yet. But anyway, I guess that's fine to some degree. However, I don't think it's great for institutions of faith, the church, whatever it happens to be, because if they're, the church's role is to stand apart from secular society and to thumb its nose, so to speak, at government in that regard. So yeah, we'll take your money, but we're not going to change the tone of the gospel, because that's not ours to change. But if you have no respect for the gospel in the first place, and you control the checkbook, I can see how there are probably some churches and some organizations that are faith affiliated that have come to the conclusion that they can do more good with the devil's money than they can without it from their own congregations. And to some degree, that's probably accurate. But it's just sad if that has anything to do with the what I think is really the reduction in the nature of the true gospel of many faith organizations and the apostasy that has occurred in the last 50 years. And so perhaps it's connected. I hope that that's not the case, but it seems like that's just a lot of money. And in return, preach from the pulpit these apostasies. So that could be it, or it could just be, the devil whispering in 400 prophets' ears. I mean, that happens too. So that could be part of it. Now, speaking of the other thing, that this is not even in the news yet, because it's probably not true. But the last thing I'm going to talk about is the latest X Twitter conspiracy. The Twitterverse, or Xverse, or whatever it is. X is such a weird title, Elon. But anyway, there's a conspiracy now that has come out, and it's just a conspiracy like they all are. But we've learned on the conservative side of things in the last several years that it seems like every conspiracy seems to eventually come true. Like we said, pretty sure that this came out of a Wuhan lab. And they're like, no, that can't possibly be it. Now the CIA has finally come around in the last month. So, yep, that actually was what happened. Well, we knew that. So, and on and on and on. And so conspiracies, they're interesting, and it kind of makes you go, but until they're bore out, it's just a conspiracy. So this is the latest one that I found, and I thought it was interesting. It revolves around a criminal complaint filed in Pennsylvania at the end of July that alleges Governor Josh Shapiro, who is the governor of Pennsylvania and was, everyone thought, the number one pick for Kamala Harris to be vice president, and her running mate. And then an amazing surprise, she announced Tim Walz from Minnesota, the underhead that I've talked about before, as her running mate. And we all know how that campaign turned out. And in my opinion, thank God that it did not work out for the Harris-Walz campaign. But Josh Shapiro was, even Ben Shapiro, those two apparently are not related. But even Ben Shapiro was like, yeah, he could be really effective. And Josh Shapiro is Jewish and the governor of Pennsylvania, and so they thought that would be helpful. A lot of people thought that he would be helpful to the Harris campaign, but he didn't get the pick. And Ben Shapiro thought it was because he was Jewish. He was too Jewish. And I don't know if that's the case. This conspiracy theory points to a potential another issue, and that is that Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, and this is conspiracy, and so it's, take it with a grain or a bag of salt, but it's what's popping up on Twitter now, and we'll see whatever happens to it. But this apparently the governor in these criminal complaints filed in Pennsylvania is somehow involved in the assassination attempt of Trump in Pennsylvania. I don't know about that, but that's what these criminal complaints that were filed back at the end of July, early August suggested. And that they didn't go anywhere, that they were suppressed by the Biden administration. Apparently, Shapiro had met with officials in the Biden administration in the spring many times prior to the assassination attempt. And then when that occurred, we all know what happened. He survived, obviously, became president and had the epic picture, so on and so forth. And then just lots of strange things around that whole assassination attempt. The shooter, the situation with the police and the local police and the Secret Service, just everything. It was just, the whole thing is just very weird. And of course, it made a lot of people, wonder, conspiracies on both sides, I suppose, of what really happened. And I don't know. And I just think this is interesting because apparently there was an informant that was affiliated with the law enforcement in Pennsylvania or on the federal side that filed these complaints, criminal complaints against the governor in Pennsylvania. Those records are on the Twitterverse, so take that for, again, a grain or a bag of salt. And wouldn't that be interesting if that was the case? It would be certainly crazy, and I doubt that it's true. I don't think that the governor of a state is particularly interested in ruining their political career over something like that. So I have significant doubts that that's the case. But if it were true, then it would be like, well, is that why he didn't get he didn't succeed, so he didn't get the pick from the Harris campaign? I don't know. It's just out there, and it's hard to imagine. I'm sure, though, that there are people looking into every angle of what happened in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania with President Trump at this very moment. And so we'll see what happens. And I don't know. I have no idea. Neither do you. We'll just leave it there. That's maybe that's a feature. Like, here's the latest conspiracy, not from me, but I got my own theories. We'll talk about those in other episodes. Not about this particular assassination attempt or all that other stuff. Either way, it was quite a weekend, and man, I'll tell you what, it is already turning into again, every day, every hour. It seems like there's some change. Just take a step back from it and realize that everything is in God's hands, and that our political leaders, you pray for them regardless of what their political ticket says, what party they represent. If they're elected, they're there for a reason, and God can use, as we've said on this program before, and the Bible indicates, God can use faithful people for his purposes, but he can also use unfaithful people for his purposes as well. And we may not quite understand what those purposes are, but that does always seem to work out in God's plan, because God's got it. And that's the message for all of this. And for all of the Eagles fans out there, congratulations. Just don't be, celebrate. You can be proud. You can make fun of the Kansas City Chiefs fans. You can, keep your head high and your shoulders back. Team did a great job. Well coached, well executed, offense and defense. Just don't be jerks all the time. Don't be jerks about it. Proud of what they accomplished. Congratulations to them. Sorry for the Chiefs fans. Look, you're still. You still got some Super Bowl back there. You just didn't get a three-peat. So better luck next time. And maybe next year we'll have two completely different people, two completely different teams that are in the Super Bowl. And maybe one of them will be the Vikings. Now that would be the sunny side of someone's life. I want to thank all our friends and guests for stopping by for this episode of The Sunny Side of Life. All the Sunny Side of Life players who stopped by, creative support provided every day by my incredible wife Heidi and our fantastic 4 boys. Thanks to every one of our listeners. That means you. A big shout out to my brothers and sisters in uniform holding the line around the world. Share the word, folks. Let the people know what we're up to. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow us on social media. All skits are written or adapted and directed by me, Troy Thompson, and are produced here at Sunnyside Farm Studios and delivered to all platforms by Buzzsprout. Music and sound effects are provided by Soundstripe. The Sunny Side of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. Now, none of this is possible without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life, liberty, and pursuits be in Christ, and made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.